The reason this video is about a year late is because this game is the single most boring piece of software ever to be developed, and frankly, I just didn't feel like playing this. When you start up the game, you can immediately tell this game goes for something a little bit more cinematic than its predecessors, and while that in theory would be a good idea, that requires you to have a certain amount of graphics going on. And this game doesn't really improve on the graphics from the last game, so the camera gets closer, but the things don't look nicer, meaning that you can see how horrendous they look. Let's not stick too much to the looks of the game though, it just doesn't look good. Let's try and look past it and see how the game actually plays, and you get into a little tutorial section right away where they teach you spells, and in the first couple of games you just point your wand at something and press that button and it does a spell. Not so much here, you actually need to use wand gestures, either using your mouse or your right analog stick. I would advise you to use a controller and use the right analog stick, because using a mouse is absolutely impossible to get right. At a basic design level, I do understand the decision to make wand gestures a thing, because that would be cool, right, if you just don't press a designated button but actually have to do a gesture. That would be amazing. Well, it would be if it worked properly. About half the time you're trying to do a spell, it just doesn't do the spell. And because it's quite complicated, the pacing in something like combat is way lower than you would like it to be. Even the games before this, especially Goblet of Fire, had a pretty high pacing in combat. This game takes that way down again, and it's just not fun to play. One thing I'll say about this though is that auto-aim in this game for spells is pretty decent, which is necessary because you'll only be able to cast a spell every couple of seconds, so it better be able to hit. The game might look horrendous, but how does it sound? Well, starting with the music, it's okay. The music is similar to that of the first 3 games, especially since there are literally some rearrangements of those songs, and this game itself tries to go back to the feeling those games had, being open world with a lot of side quests, rather than Harry Potter 4, which was a more linear mission-based game. And the voice acting is, let's be honest, not very great.
This isn't the right book. This is from the restricted section. It must have escaped. Let's get to somewhere private where we can check this book.
It kind of makes me wanna cry a little bit on the inside. I've gotta be honest though, Hogwarts is absolutely huge in this game, and you get a Marauders map which guides you to locations and people, and you can actually select people you want to walk to, and then in-game there's these little footsteps on the ground which guide you to that person or that place, which is a really nice touch, and if that wasn't the case, this game would be absolutely unplayable. And Hogwarts kind of feels like Hogwarts. There's a lot of things to explore and discover, and actually, talking about discovery, there is a mechanic called discovery points, and if you discover a couple of things, you unlock extras, which nobody cares about that, but it also upgrades your spells, and that is the important part. So you want to walk around and discover as much as you can, because you're going to want those upgraded, powered up spells. The game pretty much has 2 sides, the Harry Potter story part and the gameplay part. The story part is pretty much just the most important plot points of the movie turned into cutscenes, and that's pretty much it. You don't get to play through the most important plot points at all, you just get to watch them. And then the gameplay is a totally separate thing as well, because the gameplay is mostly just doing side quests. It literally is. At one point you need to find all of the DA members scattered around Hogwarts, and there's 28 of them. Luckily some of them come in groups of 3 or 4, so that makes it a little bit more bearable. But I still spent a good hour and a half trying to find all of them, because when you find them, they just don't come quietly. A lot of them actually require you to do some kind of side quest for them as well, so getting all of these DA members together is absolutely the mother of all fetch quests. The reason they do this is to teach you the castle, obviously. And it makes you appreciate how big and how mysterious Hogwarts actually is in this game, and that's the only thing well designed about this game, the Hogwarts castle. The maps are amazing. But on the other hand side, this takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is roughly half the game for what's supposed to be one side quest, which isn't story relevant at all. It's just filler. And one of the side quests in this side quest, you have to find 5 talking gargoyles, and there's no hints whatsoever as to where they are, so that's gonna take you quite a while if you don't know where they are. Luckily I got Google, because I didn't feel like walking randomly across Hogwarts until finding all 5 gargoyles. Also, one of the gargoyles is missing a friend because somebody on a broom knocked him off last year while being chased by a dragon. Finally, we have found all the DA members and we can get to the DA meeting, do some spells, and then angsty teen romance which doesn't feel forced whatsoever. Yes, it does. So if you know the story of Order of the Phoenix, you know, well, right now there's gonna be a very important thing, and luckily this is not just a cutscene. We are going to get occlumency lessons, and this is a really important thing in the story, and it's absolutely the most boring and tedious and useless gameplay element in the entire game. Snape points his wand one direction and you press your analog stick in the opposite direction, and you do this for however long it takes to defeat Snape. It's stupid. It's just frankly stupid. After which you go to Grimmauld Place because, well, the story says so, but you can immediately go back to Hogwarts pretty much without doing anything, so this is just useless. There is some side quests here, but honestly, the less time I have to spend with this game, the better it is, so let's go back to Hogwarts right away. And just like you would expect, there's gonna be an important plot point here. Hagrid's brother. It's a cutscene. You don't get to play it. Surprise, this game doesn't like you. And I don't like it. And then you go back to occlumency again, not even 10 minutes after the last lesson, and it's still as boring, tedious and useless as it was before. Luckily though, after that we get to a DA meeting to do some more fun and powerful spells, but Umbridge finds you, which of course we all knew that was gonna happen, and that leads into an impossible battle against some Slytherins, which that's actually fun that they did it that way. That's totally new, that didn't happen in the book or the movie, just they added that, and that's pretty much the only thing they added which was good, and this slowly starts to develop into the climax of the game. You would think, but firstly let's take another break, talk to some DA members and start to annoy Umbridge by turning some things into swamps and turning her speakers into broken speakers and doing a thing to the clock tower and just, again, filler. Because we don't have actual content. I mean, if you made the cutscenes into gameplay, that would have been content and I would have liked that. But you decided to not do that and make some extra gameplay. I legitimately don't understand why you didn't spend that time and money on making story elements into levels. What was your thought process there? Let's make cutscenes and then add in some gameplay which nobody is going to like in between those cutscenes, rather than making them play through the cutscenes which are the thing they actually liked in the movie or the books, and hence they bought the game because they wanted to play that, but we won't let them play that because we're evil. This game is published by Electronic Arts. It all fucking makes sense. You know what? Just screw it. We'll go back doing some more occlumency, and that was actually the last lesson, and Snape is rather pissed at Harry, but we didn't see Snape's flashback like we did in the movie and the book, so let's go back again a second. We cut out a lot of the story, only keep the most important plot elements, make them into cutscenes, not gameplay. The one thing that is important and is gameplay actually has an important part of the story cut out, not even made into a cutscene. This game is so backwards, I can't fucking believe it. And right at the end of the game throws something weird at you. You suddenly are able to play as Fred or George, I don't know which of the two it is, for a little while, and then you get into a broom section which controls horrendously as well. Still playing as one of them? At the very end of the game, why wasn't this a mechanic throughout the entire game? That could be fun, playing a bit as Hermione, playing a bit as Ron. I mean, give them all their unique own kind of thing, just like in The Prisoner of Azkaban, but no. It's just, at the end of the game, you suddenly get control of Fred and George, and it feels weird because you haven't been able to do that whatsoever before. Like you'd probably expect, the Forbidden Forest isn't a level, it's just a cutscene, and then you go to the Ministry of Magic, which something really weird happens there as well. This is kind of a cutscene, but it's in-engine, not pre-rendered. Most cutscenes are pre-rendered and they look horrendous, but this is actually in-engine, so they build the maps and they render everything live in-engine, but you can't control your characters. So I feel like this was supposed to be a level, and then at the last minute they cut it and they just made it into a cutscene because that would be easier and or cheaper to produce. But luckily there is some gameplay here. The duel between Bellatrix and Lucius and Sirius and Harry actually is a gameplay part, and it confused the hell out of me because here you suddenly play as Sirius while Harry is standing next to you being controlled as an AI character. Oh no, this doesn't make any sense. And the final fight is Dumbledore versus Voldemort, which actually, admittedly, that is kind of cool. I like that. That is something that you could see coming after playing as Fred or George. And at playing a series, then Dumbledore shows up and like, oh damn, I'm gonna be able to play as him, and you are, and it feels very good because he's very powerful. And honestly, that's the best part of the game. Dumbledore versus Voldemort. And then Voldemort possesses Harry and you need to do occlumency. And the twist here is it's more difficult because Voldemort's wand at the beginning of the occlumency minigame is off-screen. So you need to look at where it goes off-screen to decide which direction to press. This is like the actual final boss, the occlumency thing, and it's again horrible. Dumbledore versus Voldemort was a pretty good fight, and then you follow it up with this. And then you get back to Hogwarts and the game just doesn't fucking end. It just throws you back into a courtyard and just go do some shit. I suspect if you complete a game 100% you'll get an ending cutscene and credits, but who knows, this game just skips and doesn't do shit all the time, so maybe there's not even a credits roll. I don't know, I don't care. In retrospect, this game is horrible, don't play it, please. All 4 games before this were pretty good or amazing in some cases. This game, please skip it, stay away from it, don't even look at it.